You are carrying 2 cups to the table, and someone asks you a question, and you stop walking, not because the question was difficult. Your feet just stopped, or the radio is playing in the kitchen, and the recipe stops making sense. So you reach over and turn it down. Neither of those is a failure, but something has changed, and it has a name, and the name is not the one most people use. Most people describe it the same way. I used to be able to do 2 things at once. I can't anymore. Here's the part that changes everything. You never could. Nobody ever could. In cognitive psychology, there is broad agreement that the brain does not run 2 attention-demanding jobs side by side. It switches between them, fast, invisibly, hundreds of times an hour, but one at a time, and every switch has a price. Researchers call it switch cost. The moment your brain spends letting go of one set of rules and loading another. Frontal and parietal regions light up on the handover. There is a second charge on the same bill. A study by Sophie Leroy found that when you leave a task, part of your attention stays behind, especially if the task was unfinished. She called it attention residue. Your mind keeps a small process running in the background on the thing you just put down. So the skill you think you lost was never a skill. It was a discount. Switching used to be cheap enough that you never saw the receipt. Which raises a better question. If the switching was always there, what actually changed? The price changed. When researchers measure dual task cost, meaning how much your performance drops when a second job is added, that cost is measurably larger later in life. In studies that combine movement and thinking, the gap is wide enough to see clearly in the data. But here's where honest research gets interesting. And I would rather tell you this than sell you something simpler. One review looked at 9 different dual task situations. A clear penalty showed up in 4 of them. And when researchers accounted for how people performed on each task alone, most of the difference faded. Read that again because it changes what you are dealing with. The problem may not be the splitting. It may be that the first job now costs more, so there is less left over for the second. That is a very different thing. And it points at the real bottleneck. For decades, one idea has held up better than most in this field. It comes from Lynn Hasher and Rose Zaks, and it says the thing that narrows is not storage, it is suppression. The ability to keep the irrelevant thing quiet. Think about what that means in a kitchen. The radio is not a second task, you are not doing it. But if the filter that used to hold it outside the room has loosened, then the radio is inside the room, taking up space, whether you invited it or not. That is why the recipe stops making sense. Not because you cannot cook, because you are cooking and listening to a song you never chose. You can hear the same thing at a family table, 2 conversations running at once, and you find yourself following neither one. It is not that the room got louder. It is that the room got in, and there is one sound in that room that costs more than all the others: hearing. There is a well-supported idea in hearing research called the effortfulness hypothesis. It goes like this. When speech arrives slightly blurred, your brain spends effort cleaning it up. That effort is not free, and it does not come from a separate account. It comes out of the same pool you use to remember and follow and think. The studies are unusually clear. People with hearing loss show markedly higher secondary task costs. They recall less of what they heard, not because memory failed, but because too much was spent at the door. So if you have been telling yourself you cannot concentrate in restaurants, there may be nothing wrong with your concentration. You may simply be paying an entry fee that other people are not. And that fee is charged quietly. Nobody hands you the bill. You just notice at the end of the evening that you are holding less of it than everyone else seems to be. That one is measurable, and it can be changed, in a way most things on this list cannot. Now, the second clue, and this one is my favorite, because your body has already worked it out without asking you. Walking. You are on a path with someone. They ask you something real, and you stop. There is a name for this in the research literature. Stops walking when talking. It has been studied for years, mostly as a clinical observation. And the mechanism underneath it is the interesting part. When healthy people are given a walking task and a thinking task at the same time, and nobody tells them which one matters, they protect the walking. Researchers call it posture first. Balance gets the resources. The conversation waits. So stopping is not the moment you failed. Stopping is the moment your body made a decision correctly before you had a chance to overrule it. So, 4 things that help. The first 2 are free and you can use them today. 1. Stop, then answer. Not as an apology, as a method. Standing still hands the whole budget to the conversation, and it removes the switch cost entirely, because there is no longer a switch. Nobody watching thinks anything of it. They think you are listening. You are. 2. Turn the background off before you need it off. Not down. Off. If the filter is doing more work than it used to, the cheapest move is to stop giving it work. Kitchen radio off before a conversation. Television off before a phone call. Before, not during. Because during is already too late. 3. Get your hearing checked, even if you think it is fine, especially if the trouble shows up in restaurants and not at home. Background noise is where mild hearing loss appears first, and it is usually the last place people think to look. This is the one item on today's list with a number attached, and numbers are useful. 4. Finish it or park it out loud. Attention residue is strongest when something is unfinished. You do not have to complete every task before starting another. But saying, "I will come back to the letter after lunch," out loud or on paper, closes the loop enough that your mind stops running the background process. It sounds too small to work. It is not. Now the honest half. Practicing multitasking does not make you better at multitasking. There is no muscle there to train, because there was never a muscle. What you would be practicing is switching faster. And switching faster mostly means switching worse. And trying to do it anyway, pushing through, doing both, refusing to stop walking costs more than the thing you were trying to save, but there is a reason I called this video what I called it. Something did replace it, and it is not a consolation prize. Vocabulary, knowledge, judgment, what researchers call crystallized ability. It keeps climbing across adult life into the 60s. On the same graph where one line goes down, another goes up. Most people have only ever been shown the first line. There is an old comparison in this research. A young chess player calculates faster. An experienced one has seen the position before. Speed is only one way to be good at something, and it is not the way that lasts. Well-practiced skill barely moves. Procedural memory, the driving, the knitting, the kneading, the route home holds up remarkably well and returns fast even after long gaps. That is why you can drive and talk, but you cannot chop and listen. The driving is not a second task anymore. It stopped charging you years ago. And that loosened filter has a second face, because more of the room gets in, more of the room gets stored. When that supposedly irrelevant information turns out to matter later, it gets put to work, often without anyone being prompted to use it. In some studies, it shows up as an advantage in creative problem solving. The leak is also a net, and underneath all of it, the brain is not sitting still. There is a well-supported model called scaffolding. As some circuits get noisier, Others are recruited to hold the work up. Extra regions come online. That is not decline. That is a building being reinforced while it is still in use. Everything I have described is the ordinary version. Here is where it is worth a conversation with your doctor. And this is about the pace, not the fact. If stopping to talk started noticeably in the last 6 to 12 months, if your walking has slowed enough that other people mention it, if there has been a fall or a wobble that scared you, if something you have done automatically for decades, driving, cooking a familiar meal, has started to feel effortful, because that is the part that usually holds, or if the people around you are noticing more than you are. None of those means something is wrong. They mean it is worth 20 minutes with someone who can measure it. And get the hearing test either way. So, today, the next time someone speaks to you while you are moving, stop walking and answer. That is it. That is the whole thing. It costs you 2 seconds. It hands the conversation everything you have, and it works with your body instead of against it. You did not lose the ability to do 2 things at once. You traded a discount you never noticed for a depth you use every day without counting it. Your attention did not get smaller. It got harder to divide because it stopped needing to be.